guys.
Fry collection. Egg collection.
عايز الطبق ده كان انا فاضي عشان كده. كنت عايز الطبق الثاني الكبير اللي انت قلت مرسل المالي كنت عايز فاضي عشان كده.
That's the scoop net.
اقلب عليك يا محسن هذا السمك.
Hey, hey.
Madam.
You tell them, how do you know it's a nail? There's a protrusion.
Lorsque vous appuyez souvent, voilà.
Il est fatigué, il faut le laisser.
Qui appuie là-bas là? Il va sortir.
Even here. Let's see here. Hey, here. Let us see here. Let us see here, sir. Here. Just a minute.
Raise it up.
Oh, il faut caresser.
That is section of the male.
Sorry, this one.
You see fries?
Yeah.
But I didn't understand now. You grow a lot of things. Very.
Dangereux.
Vas-y.
Tu move out.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, I mean.
Okay. So we can begin now. So you are saying this is the water? You said this is Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Great.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so we are going to continue with our discussion this afternoon. And our discussion this afternoon, we are going to have Mr. Skaparu Malao from Skretting, Zambia. You know, one of the major issues we are facing in the industry is the poor nutrition of our fish. People have been keeping fish since 1940s in Zambia. They've been doing fish farming. But what has made the trend to remain the same? So what we want to do is to make sure that the nutrition aspect of the fish is handled carefully. And we have a lot of players that have come, or the stakeholders that have come on board to make sure that the nutrition of the fish is attended to fully. So now, as I said yesterday, to say most of you farmers are located in different parts of the country. So we want to make sure that you get to have the true picture or the true guideline on how you should use the specific feeds and how you should manage the growth of the fish. Because what you are interested in, it's not about having a very smart environment. It's a very smart pond area, but yeah, harvesting nothing. We want to have systems that are going to give us good yields at the end of the day. That's the only thing that will keep the aquaculture industry if you are getting your returns as expected. And your returns can only come out if you manage your water very well, if you manage your nutrition. And if you followed this morning's presentation, someone is saying no sound. Are you able to get me?
Yes, we're able to get you.
Okay, so we are saying,
At least
if you followed through, you discover that the presenter mentioned to say the feed costs or cost of production, the ratio of cost of production, when you look at the feed, it covers almost that was almost 70% of the total cost. So it's a huge cost that should be managed very well, and it's one of the costs. If you remember yesterday in the afternoon, when we were doing the tabulations there, it was somewhere coming to 14,000 kwacha. It's a lot of money. So we need to understand how best we can play around this card or this game of the nutrition of the fish. Because at the, no matter the case, the fish you need to eat, you need to spend, and they have to grow. But how will they grow? At what rate are they going to grow? That leaves much to be desired. Some people say, no, the fish have stayed in the pond for the whole year, this fish doesn't grow, this and this. But what has been the contributing factor towards this stunted growth? So we are going to pay attention and follow Mr. Malao as he's going to run us through his presentation. So Mr. Malao, you can share your screen and take charge of the seat and see how best we can do some discussions this afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
So what you can do, Mr.
Sure.
Malao, you can just put it on the slide show so that it is full screen.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay. But is the screen able to show?
Yeah, we are seeing something, but just go down there. You'll see where there's some slides.
On the cup, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
You're able to see some.
Yes.
Konda.
Yes, we.
Okay, yes, my name's yep, so I was fish nutrition. Hello?
Will the network permit us the way he's traveling?
Oh. Mr. Mkonda, I think maybe you can stop somewhere because when the way is moving plus network, I think there's nothing we'll get.
So,
Hello, Mr. Marao.
okay.
There's a concern here. We are not getting you.
Maybe if you can park somewhere.
Mr. Marao. Hello?
This session will not do us justice. I mean,
Yes, I can resume.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so are you going to continue the presentation or you will be on break?
I have muted my mic. I'll continue the video that was doing an introduction about skretting, and I'm sure by the time it's done, I would have already made a stop.
Okay, okay.
Sure.
Please run it. Mr. Mara, would you mute your mic?
Okay, I was wondering if I mute it, are you?
Hello? Hello?
Mr. Mkonda,
Yes, please.
maybe you can allow this time while we are waiting for the gentleman, if people have general questions that you can attempt to answer so that we pass time like that.
So let us look at something else.
Okay.
Okay. We have a challenge with Mr. Madao. Once he gets to the point where there is proper signal, we'll get back to the presentation. Okay. So this remaining.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mkonda. So whilst we are waiting for Mr. Malau, I wanted to find out for a farmer who's starting up fish farming, what services do you offer?
What services we
apart
offer?
from just the training?
me just share something, I think. Okay, what we do offer, let me look at this. We offer a lot of other services. We supply fingerlings, sex-based fingerlings.
I cannot hear you. I don't know. Oh, I think.
Okay,
Sorry.
hello? Hello?
I can hear.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying we supply sex-based fingerlings. We also supply catfish or imilonge fingerlings. We also into several other related aquaculture consultants. Then we also develop business plans for people and do construction of fish ponds for people, development of farms, extension services we do offer. And then also...
okay. I think for me, that's what I would actually need, right? From the constructing of the ponds. I would like help as well as just running through the process, because when you are beginning, you can't know it all. So maybe just having someone who can constantly check on my fish, check on what we are doing. I'm in Chilanga, so I don't know where you're based.
It's okay. We are in Kabwe. Ourselves are in Kabwe, Mulungushi River.
Oh, okay, okay.
If you know St. Paul's Secondary School, we are just next to the school, about 700 meters away from the school, sharing the same water body. Yeah, so when you're coming here, we use Mulungushi University Road. Just from Mulungushi University branch. Yeah, just pass through the main university. We are just about maybe 10 to 11 kilometers to the roadside.
Okay, and how often do you come to Lusaka? Because I think we needed a sit down where we can get into a number of things in detail. I don't know how often do you come.
We do come to Lusaka very often, almost sometimes every week. But so that this period we have one engagement in Kasama where we have a contract with Musika and Wildfish, where we are developing a breeding unit there. So this time, most of our time until end of July has been bought off by those guys. Then so we'll be free mostly to move out to Osaka in August.
Okay, okay. We can probably get in touch some other time.
Sure.
So that we see how best we can give help.
Hello, Mr. Roy.
Mr. Malawi, you're back.
Yes, I just made a stopover. I was actually doing farm visitations for my clients.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we can do this then. Okay.
I hope I'm clear enough. There's no much feedback.
Okay, so you can connect now, and then we continue.
Later.
Sorry?
Later.
Okay.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can get you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so sorry everyone for turning in late. I was actually just doing some client visitations. This is when I'm done. Is everybody able to see my screen?
No, your screen is not on the camera. There.
You can't see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see it now?
We can see it now.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, so I'm actually starting with a video just to show you the history of Skretting and where it's located. At least a little bit summarized. Then I'll go into feed management. Actually, initially I wanted to do fish nutrition, but I noticed we can be doing these things gradual with workshops other than just go direct to the main event.
Mr. Malao, there's some background noise. Okay, done.
The video has no sound.
Mr. Malao, we are not getting any sound.
Hello?
Mr. Malao.
Yes, Mr. Royd, you're saying?
Yeah, we can't get any sound from the video.
You're not able to get sound?
No, there's no sound.
Are you able to get the sound now?
Still there's no sound.
You can't get sound from the video?
No, no, no.
Okay. Okay, okay. Let me just skip it. I'll send it on the group, and you can just have a look at it. Maybe let me just. Yeah, I'm saying I'll send. Can you get?
Okay, okay, okay. You can send it then.
Are you able? Yeah, so I'll send it on the group, and then you can have a look at the video. So just go direct into the presentation.
Okay, good.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So the image that you can see here is the image of our feed plant. So our plant was built in 2017. The company started its operations in Siavonga, and as at then we were supplying Lake Harvest and also Yalelo. So the specialty for the company is basically in high quality extruded floating tilapia feeds. Other products that we have are crocodile mash as well. So this is a range of feeds that we do have. So we have the fry mash and we have the whole range of crumbles up to the 4.5. On the hatchery feeds, we also have the broodstock diet that is used mainly by hatcheries. Yep. So the first question one would ask is, what is a good feed, tilapia feed? So what we look at are the nutritional quality, the hygiene, physical quality, and food safety as well. So on the physical quality, we're now looking at the pellet size uniformity, the floating, either floating or sinking, the dust, the water stability, how long it takes to disintegrate once it's casted into the water, and also how long it takes to mold, the molding which comes with effect of moisture. Nutritional, we're looking at the protein and the lipid levels as well. And this is a range of feeds that you require on a skretting diet in order for you to grow your fish until you harvest. So I'll get in depth of this as I do the feed management. So the topic that we're going to look at is feed management. So feed management, which is the water quality, data collection, feeding the correct amount, physical properties of the feed, and last but not the least, the feed storage itself. So we're going to look at the aspects of good feed management for you as a farmer. So the aspects of good feed management, basically you have to know your biomass, the number of fish and the average weight that you are looking at. Then the feed intake determines the growth rate. So this is when the FCRRs will come in later on. Then we advise also multiple feedings per day, about 2 to 3, that's for the grower feeds. As the fish is still juvenile, the frequency of feeding should increase, but as it grows, at least you can reduce it to 2 to 3 feeding sessions on a daily basis. So at least per meal, you spend about 20 to 30 minutes of feeding. And we usually advise the farmer is also present, as in you do it yourself, because we've had most cases of people just dumping the feed. As in, if we say this cycle will feed, let's say maybe 50 grams, then it's all dumped in at once. So we'd rather broadcast, see the response, and then see if you have to continue feeding. So as a farmer, you have to record your daily feeding per pond. That will enable you to calculate your FCR. So I've seen most presenters have shown on how to calculate the FCR, but in case if there are any questions that you'd also love to ask, I think I can also answer them for you. So how to calculate the FCR, I'm sure this is not new to us now. So basically we're just looking at the feed consumed over the weight gained. That's basically a simpler way we can talk about the FCR. So this is just an illustration of an FCR that we were calculating. The number of fish being 1,000, their mean weight being 10 grams, the biomass at start being 10 kgs. The end number of fish we're looking at was 900, meaning that we had a mortality of about 10%. The mean weight is 1.5 kgs. So basically, this is how you get to calculate the FCR. So you look at the feed that was used, which was 1,500 kgs. And then we get now the difference between the starting weight and the finishing weight, which is the end biomass. So this is the FCR that we find. So the lower the FCR, the better for you. So if we're comparing, say, who had a better yield, the one with an FCR of 1.5 and one with an FCR of 1.7, we would say the one with 1.5 did better in their growing session, because it means for every kg of feed, for every 1.5 kg of feed used, the fish gained 1 kilo of body weight. That's basically the simplest translation you can give on an FCR. Yeah, then so we'll go to underfeeding and overfeeding. So now we are looking at things that are going to cause your FCR to go high. So underfeeding will cause your FCR to go high, as well as overfeeding. So with underfeeding, we are looking at poor growth or slow growth. Then there's a high proportion of feed that is used for maintenance of metabolism, body metabolism. So you find that instead of the fish having the feed in order to put on body weight, it instead uses the minimum feed that you give it for it to utilize it for metabolism. And now we go to overfeeding. So overfeeding, one would ask, how does overfeeding lead to high FCR? So with overfeeding, definitely you're going to have good and fast growth, but the proportion of feed is wasted. So a huge proportion of feed is wasted. So the fish will only consume what it can, and the rest will go to waste. So meaning you are feeding more than the fish can consume. So meaning part of the feed is wasted, the FCR will go higher. Because you expect, even though for you, you'll be saying the expected feed that you have given to the fish will also enable it to put on weight, but instead is wasted. So then overfeeding also have a potential of water pollution. So meaning the FCR will go higher. So in terms of water pollution, we're not talking of deterioration of oxygen levels going lower, because as we all know, when you overfeed, so part of the feed that's not consumed will go to the bottom, and then there it will begin to form mods, which will instead capture the oxygen that is meant for the fish in order for it to grow. So really, FCR is not always a reflection of feed quality, but also the feeding history. So as much as we might give you the quality of feed that you need, but it also comes back to the feeding history at the end of the day. So now we go to feeding. Let's go to feeding. So they use feeding correctly. So we use the extruded floating fish feeds in ponds. So avoid underfeeding, and limit overfeeding to a minimum. Meal feeding, like I earlier alluded, 2 to 4 times per day. Then we allow sufficient feeding time, 10 to 20 minutes or 30 minutes as I alluded, or 20 to 30 minutes as I alluded earlier, depending on the response of the fish. So for, as most of us are the farm owners and we have workers on site, we also need to train our people how to feed the fish. Huh? You have to give them all the guidelines. Then you have to set a target for the daily feed amount from the feeding table provided by the fish feed supplier. So we do the calculations for you and we'll give you a feeding schedule that you follow, but it's not necessarily that you would have to do exact as we put in terms of amounts. Sometimes we have to, that's where now the experience comes in and where you're able to tell the response that the fish is giving you at that particular time. So, okay, just a moment. Yeah, so these are some of the advantages of using extruded fish feed. So extruded fish feed has a higher content of direct energy. Our extruded fish feed is more digestible, often contains more fat. So this is where the issues of palatability come in. We might have numerous different kinds of feed, but the feed is supposed to be palatable for the fish in order for it to consume. Just like humans, we also have our favorite meals. So the fish also needs to have a sort of balanced diet. So the extruded fish feed can have a lower FCR. So what are the advantages of extrusion? So extrusion is basically the process of cooking the feed. So extrusion is the one that enables the fish feed to start floating. So when the fish is floating, when the fish feed is floating, it now allows satiation feeding. Feeding to satiation is a method that's used by other farmers, mostly commercial. Feeding to satiation is feeding to satisfaction. So extrusion also enables the feed to be water stable. So the pellets don't, you have to also to monitor how long the pellet takes for it to disintegrate as after you cast it out in the water. It's supposed to stay for some period of time. So for our feed, actually, we've observed you can cast it in, you're able to find it the next day as a whole pellet. So if the fish feed is not water stable, what really happens is when you cast it, it disintegrates. At the end of the day, it pollutes the water, forming a dust layer on the surface of the water. That's one thing that we do not want to happen in our ponds. So we're also looking at fast growth and lower FCR. So feed storage is also another thing. So, you need to, after we have farmers that purchase fish feed and maybe for the whole cycle. So now we are looking at feed storage in cool places, at least below 30 degrees. It should be dark and not direct sunlight, just as you can see from the illustration in the picture below. The place should be dry and not outside next to the pond. This is because the moisture content is going to cause the feed to start molding, which is one thing that you wouldn't want. In terms of direct sunlight, it might cause some of the nutrients to start leaching. So please, as much as you purchase the feed in bulk, storage is also a factor. It might not give you desired results if you do not follow the guidance in terms of storage as well. So feeding according to accurate sizes. So what we encourage, hence that's why I don't really give a lot of clients days in which they can switch feeds. What we encourage is for you as a farmer to sample weigh. So sampling, maybe let's say you can start maybe after 1.5 months of stocking. You're not supposed to sample the juvenile because they're too fragile. So maybe at least if you've grown them maybe for a month and you're about to graduate them maybe to the next feed line, which is a grower from the starters, you can sample. The farmer can sample at least every 2 weeks for new farmers. Even a month is okay, but 2 weeks, if the fish is growing faster, you might end up forgetting to change to another feed type. So I think 2 weeks is okay on our side because we expect a change in terms of growth. So you sample weigh and then you feed according to the body weights. So you also have to be able to know your biomass, like I alluded, to calculate your FCR, then also to adjust feeding rates. So sampling is enabling you to adjust the feeding rates, and also not only for feeding purposes, but it also allows you to check health issues to do with the fish. If the fish is diseased, if the fish has got things like lesions, this is the time that you are able to observe. Just put this one for catfish as well, but we're focusing on the tilapia. Catfish feed for Skretting is produced in Nigeria and not in Zambia. In Zambia, we just specialize in tilapia feeds. But for some of you that are interested in catfish as well, you can reach out to me. I'll be able to send you some soft copies of information that you can use on catfish as well. So these are some of the parameters that you would need for optimal quality growth. So optimal water quality for fish growth, we're looking at, for tilapia, we're looking at between 24 to 30 degrees, oxygen of at least 4 to 6 milligrams per liter. But in most cases, we find our waters at least 3 the fish can strive. The pH is supposed to be neutral, at least 6 to 8. Then total suspended solids, not less than 20. Ammonia, not less than 3. Yeah. I think for these others, they are more technical and the meters don't bring them out. They don't really come out to be a problem in terms of fish farming, unless otherwise. So large tilapia are more sensitive to low levels of oxygen than the smaller ones, because as we know, they'll need to take in more oxygen as they grow. Just as human beings, we are more. This is more or less the same theory. Yeah. So now we look at in feed management. We're looking at also data collection and how you make notes. So one thing that a farmer is supposed to have on their daily records is the daily feed intake. You need to record the growth. You need to record the mortalities, the FCRs. Okay.
That's a minute. There are those kids from the background. They are kind of affecting the sound there. Okay. You can continue.
Okay, am I a little bit clear now?
Yeah, they just those kids from playing from the background. But you can continue.
Okay, let me just move because I had gone to a public place, so
okay,
it's quite difficult for me. Yeah, let me just find somewhere you can see my screen properly. Not knowing if it would be worse than it was. Hello?
Hello, okay, get you.